When the Zephyrian Empire issues final warning, the Zephyrian Empire had conquered 3,000 star systems without losing a single major battle. Their golden ships moved through space like angels of destruction, their plasma cannons had never failed to breach enemy shields, and their Emperor Valdris had never heard the word no spoken in his face. That was about to change. Emperor Valdris stood in his crystal throne room aboard the Imperial Dreadnought, watching the holographic display show a small blue planet on the edge of the galaxy. Earth, such an insignificant world, yet it had the audacity to exist outside his empire's reach. The thought irritated him more than he cared to admit. "Your Imperial Majesty," spoke Fleet Admiral Corax, his scarred face bearing the marks of countless victories. "The human delegation has arrived. They await your ultimatum." Valdris smiled coldly. The same ultimatum had been delivered to countless worlds before. Submit to the Empire, pay tribute, provide soldiers for the Imperial Army, and live under Zephyrian rule. Or face complete annihilation. It was a simple choice that had never failed to produce the desired result. The human representative entered the throne room with measured steps. Captain Elena Voss wore a simple blue uniform without the elaborate decorations that most species favored when meeting the Emperor. Her brown hair was pulled back in a practical style, and her green eyes held a calmness that Valdris found unsettling. She did not bow. "I am Captain Elena Voss, speaking for the United Earth government," she said in clear, unaccented Galactic standard. "I understand you have a proposal for us." Emperor Valdris leaned forward on his crystal throne. "Not a proposal, human. A command. Your world will submit to the Zephyrian Empire. You will provide annual tribute equal to 60% of your planetary output. Your military will be dissolved and replaced by Imperial forces. Your leaders will be replaced by appointed governors. You have 72 standard hours to comply." Captain Voss listened without expression. When the Emperor finished, she nodded once. "I see. And if we refuse, then your world burns," Fleet Admiral Corax growled. "We have destroyed civilizations far more advanced than yours. Your primitive technology cannot stand against the Imperial fleet." The captain's expression didn't change. She reached into her uniform pocket and withdrew a small device. With a click, it projected a three-dimensional star map showing the local sector. Red dots marked Zephyrian-controlled systems. Earth appeared as a single blue, isolated and alone. "This is an impressive empire you've built," Captain Voss said, studying the map. 3,000 systems, millions of ships, billions of soldiers. Very impressive indeed. Emperor Valdris smiled, pleased by what he assumed was admiration tinged with fear. "Indeed. No force in this galaxy can challenge Zephyrian supremacy. We offer you the choice to join willingly, which is more mercy than we show most worlds." Captain Voss clicked off the hologram and returned the device to her pocket. She looked directly at Emperor Valdris with those unsettling green eyes. "Thank you for the offer, Your Imperial Majesty. We decline." The silence in the throne room was absolute. Fleet Admiral Corax's hand moved instinctively to his weapon. The Emperor's advisors exchanged shocked glances. In 3 centuries of expansion, no species had ever simply declined the ultimatum. They had begged, negotiated, wept, and bargained, but none had ever spoken such a simple, definitive refusal. "You decline?" Emperor Valdris asked, his voice dangerously quiet. "Yes. Earth will remain independent. We thank you for your time." Captain Voss turned to leave as if the meeting were over. "Stop." The Emperor's voice cracked like a whip. "You do not understand the consequences of your words, human. We will send the full Imperial fleet to your pathetic world. We will burn your cities and turn your oceans to steam. Nothing will remain but ash and regret." Captain Voss paused at the entrance to the throne room. She looked back over her shoulder. "You're certainly welcome to try, Your Imperial Majesty. But I should mention that we've been preparing for this conversation for quite some time." With that, she left. The massive doors sealed behind her with a sound like thunder. Fleet Admiral Corax broke the stun. Silence. Your Imperial Majesty, shall I prepare the war fleet? Emperor Valdris stared at the closed doors for a long moment. Never in his life had he been dismissed so casually. The human had spoken as if she were discussing the weather, not the fate of an entire civilization. Her confidence was either the height of foolishness or something far more dangerous. Yes, he said finally, prepare the full battle fleet. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. I want this human world reduced to cosmic dust. Make an example that will be remembered for 1,000 years. Fleet Admiral Corax bowed deeply. It will be done, Your Imperial Majesty. How many ships shall I assign to the operation? All of them, the Emperor said coldly. I want every vessel in the Imperial fleet converging on that blue world. Overkill is the point, Admiral. When we're finished, no species in this galaxy will ever again dare to speak the word no to the Zephyrian Empire. Within hours, the largest military mobilization in galactic history began. From 3,000 star systems, Zephyrian warships lifted off from planetary surfaces, emerged from orbital shipyards, and broke formation from patrol routes. The Imperial fleet numbered over 1 million vessels, from massive dreadnoughts capable of cracking continents to swift destroyers that could outrun anything in space. The mobilization did not go unnoticed. Across the galaxy, hundreds of alien civilizations watched their sensor networks with growing amazement. The Zephyrian Empire was moving its entire military force toward a single target. Intelligence networks buzzed with activity as species tried to understand what could possibly require such an overwhelming response. The Kalari Confederacy, longtime enemies of the Zephyrians, monitored the fleet movements with particular interest. Ambassador Thren stood in their capital's war room, watching the tactical displays show ship concentrations unlike anything in recorded history. They're really doing it, muttered General Vex, the Kalari military commander. The entire Imperial fleet against one primitive world. It's madness. Ambassador Thren's scaled features showed confusion. What could the humans have possibly done to provoke such a response? According to our intelligence, Earth has no significant military, no advanced technology, no galactic alliances. They're barely a Type 1 civilization. Perhaps that's exactly why Valdris is using such force, suggested General Vex. He wants to make a statement. Crush them so thoroughly that no other world will ever think of resistance. Meanwhile, in the outer reaches of Earth's solar system, something remarkable was happening. The asteroid belt, long considered nothing more than cosmic debris, was revealing secrets that had been hidden for decades. What appeared to be ordinary rocks were splitting open, revealing sleek metal hulls underneath. Massive construction facilities that had been carefully disguised as mining operations were powering up for the first time. Commander Zhang Wei floated in the zero-gravity command center of what had once appeared to be the asteroid Ceres. Around him, hundreds of technicians worked at stations that controlled Earth's greatest secret. The Terran defense grid had been under construction for 50 years, ever since humanity's first contact with galactic civilization had revealed the brutal nature of interstellar politics. Activation sequence is at 70%, reported Chief Engineer Sarah Chen. All primary systems are coming online within acceptable parameters. Commander Zhang studied the tactical display showing the approaching Zephyrian fleet. Over 1 million ships, more firepower than most civilizations could imagine. But humanity had imagined it, and they had prepared accordingly. How long until the Crimson Armada is fully operational, he asked. 18 hours, sir. The final stealth systems are being calibrated now. Zhang nodded. The Crimson Armada was humanity's answer to the galaxy's harsh realities. Where other species built bigger guns and thicker armor, humans had focused on mobility, stealth, and precision. Every ship in the Crimson Armada was a masterpiece of engineering, designed not to overwhelm enemies with brute force, but to outthink and outmaneuver them. Back on Earth, Captain Elena Voss stood in the United Earth Government's command center, watching the same tactical displays. She had known this moment would come eventually. Humanity's refusal to join any of the galactic empires had made conflict inevitable. But she also knew that her species had advantages that their enemies couldn't possibly understand. Captain, said Admiral Patricia Hayes, Earth's highest-ranking military officer, the Zephyrian fleet will reach our outer system in approximately 36 hours. Are you certain about this plan? Elena turned from the display to face the Admiral. Humanity has survived Ice Ages, world wars, plagues, and countless other disasters because we refuse to give up. The Zephyrians think they're facing another primitive world ready to surrender. They're about to learn that humans don't surrender. We adapt. The Admiral nodded grimly. Then God help us all, because in 36 hours, we're either going to make history or become it. As Earth prepared for the greatest battle in human history, the galaxy watched and waited. Most civilizations had already begun composing memorial statements for humanity, assuming that the Blue World would soon join the long list of species extinct by Zephyrian conquest. They had no way of knowing that they were about to witness something unprecedented. The day a galactic empire learned that some species are too stubborn to stay conquered. The day the Crimson Armada met its match fleet Admiral Corax stood on the bridge of the Imperial flagship Eternal Dominion, watching the blue-green world of Earth grow larger on the main display. Behind him stretched the most powerful armada ever assembled, 1,200,000 ships arranged in perfect attack formations. The sight should have filled him with pride, but instead he felt an unexpected unease. Admiral, reported his tactical officer, we have achieved optimal attack position. All fleet commanders report ready for orbital bombardment. Corax nodded slowly. Something about this felt wrong. In his 40 years of military service, he had conquered hundreds of worlds. Usually, by the time the Imperial fleet arrived, the target planet was broadcasting desperate surrender messages. Earth remained silent. No communications, no pleas for mercy, no last-minute negotiations. Just silence. Sensor readings on planetary defenses, he asked. Minimal, sir. We detect some orbital stations and a small patrol fleet, but nothing that could pose a threat to our forces. Total enemy ships number fewer than 500. 500 ships against over 1 million. It wasn't a battle, it was an execution. Yet something nagged at the Admiral's instincts, honed by decades of warfare. No species was this confident when facing certain annihilation unless they knew something their enemies didn't dot on Earth. Captain Elena Voss received the final status report from Commander Zhang in the asteroid belt. Crimson Armada reports full operational status. She announced to the command center. All ships are in position and awaiting orders. Admiral Hayes studied the tactical display showing the Zephyrian fleet's overwhelming numbers. Elena, I have to ask one more time. Are you absolutely certain about this strategy? We're outnumbered 2,000 to 1. Elena smiled grimly. Admiral, humanity has always been outnumbered. We were outnumbered by the mammoths, by the elements, by disease, by every obstacle we've ever faced. But we've never been outthought. She activated the communications array and sent a signal to the Zephyrian flagship. Fleet Admiral Corax appeared on the main screen, his scarred face showing surprise at receiving any communication from the doomed planet. Admiral Corax, Elena said formally, I am Captain Elena Voss of the United Earth Government. I'm transmitting coordinates for a meeting location where we can discuss terms. Corax's expression showed disbelief. Terms? Captain, you are facing the full might of the Zephyrian Empire. The only terms available are complete surrender. I understand your position, Admiral. However, I believe a brief demonstration might change your perspective on the tactical situation. Before Corax could respond, Elena cut the transmission. She turned to her communications officer. Send the signal to Commander Zhang. Initiate Operation Revelation. In the asteroid belt, Commander Zhang received the authorization code he had been waiting for. All Crimson Armada units, this is Command Actual. Execute Revelation Protocol. Show them what human engineering can accomplish. What happened next would be remembered as one of the most shocking moments in galactic history. Across the asteroid belt, what had appeared to be ordinary space rocks began to transform. Stealth systems that had kept them hidden for decades powered down, revealing their true nature. The asteroids weren't asteroids at all, they were ships. The Crimson Armada emerged from hiding like ghosts materializing from the void. Each vessel was a masterpiece of human innovation, designed with sleek, angular lines that seemed to cut through space itself. Their hulls were deep crimson, the color of human determination, and their weapon systems were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen on the Zephyrian flagship. Alarms began screaming as sensors detected the massive fleet that had appeared seemingly from nowhere. The tactical officer's voice cracked with disbelief. "Admiral, new contacts emerging from the asteroid belt. Sensor count is, this can't be right, how many ships?" Korax demanded. 600,000 and climbing. "Sir, they were hidden by some kind of stealth technology we've never encountered." Korax stared at the tactical display in shock. The humans hadn't been defenseless, they had been prepared. More than prepared. They had built a fleet that rivaled the Imperial Armada in size and appeared to surpass it in technological sophistication. Captain Elena Voss's voice crackled over the communication channel. "Admiral Korax, I believe this changes the nature of our discussion. The coordinates I transmitted mark a neutral meeting point where we can negotiate terms of Zephyrian withdrawal from Terran space." The Admiral's face flushed with anger and embarrassment. "You think this changes anything? We still outnumber you 2-1. Imperial fleet, prepare for attack." "I was hoping you'd say that," Elena replied calmly. "Crimson Armada, demonstrate human tactical doctrine. Engage at will." What followed was not the glorious battle that Fleet Admiral Korax had expected. The Crimson Armada moved like nothing the Zephyrians had ever encountered. Human ships didn't rely on brute force or overwhelming firepower. Instead, they used speed, precision, and tactics that seemed to anticipate every Zephyrian move. The human vessels struck with surgical precision, targeting specific systems rather than attempting to destroy entire ships. Zephyrian vessels found their weapons disabled, their engines cut, their shields penetrated by energy beams that seemed to phase through their defenses. Within minutes, entire Zephyrian squadrons were dead in space, helpless but intact. Commander Zhang coordinated the attack from his command center, watching as human tactical superiority proved itself against galactic military doctrine. "Pattern recognition algorithms are working perfectly," he reported to Elena. "Their attack formations follow predictable Imperial Navy doctrine. Our AI systems are staying 3 moves ahead of their tactics." The Zephyrian fleet, despite its massive size, found itself fighting an enemy that refused to engage in conventional warfare. Human ships would appear, strike with devastating precision, and vanish before return fire could be targeted. The Crimson Armada used the asteroid belt like a 3-dimensional maze, emerging from unexpected angles to hit vulnerable points in the Imperial formation. Fleet Admiral Korax watched in growing horror as his magnificent fleet was systematically dismantled. His ships weren't being destroyed. They were being neutered, left floating helplessly while human vessels moved on to the next target. It was the most humiliating defeat in Zephyrian military history. "Admiral," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving surrender demands from multiple human vessels." "Surrender demands? They want us to surrender?" Captain Elena Voss appeared on the main screen again, but this time she was calling from the bridge of a Crimson Armada flagship. Behind her, the sleek command center hummed with efficient activity. "Admiral Korax, your fleet is effectively neutralized. I'm offering you the same choice you gave us: submit or face destruction." Korax's pride warred with the tactical reality facing him. Half his fleet was disabled, and the other half was being picked apart with surgical precision. The humans had played a perfect strategic game, allowing the Zephyrians to concentrate their forces in one location before revealing that they were walking into a trap. "This is impossible," he muttered. "How did you hide such a massive fleet? How did you develop technology that surpasses ours?" Elena's expression softened slightly. "Admiral," Humanity has had to survive in a hostile galaxy for a very long time. We learned early that we couldn't compete with established powers through conventional means. So, we found unconventional ones. Your tactics, your weapons, they're like nothing we've encountered. That's because we designed them specifically to counter Imperial doctrine, Elena explained. We've been studying galactic military systems for decades. Every battle you've won, every tactic you've used, every weakness you've revealed, we've learned from it all. The communication was interrupted by an urgent report from the Zephyrian tactical officer. Admiral, our supply lines are under attack. Human ships are striking our logistics vessels throughout the sector. Elena nodded. The Crimson Armada operates under total warfare doctrine, Admiral. We don't just engage your battle fleet, we target your entire military infrastructure. Your reinforcements, your supply ships, your communication relays. Right now, human forces are dismantling your ability to wage war across this entire sector of space. Korax realized the full scope of the disaster. The humans hadn't just prepared to defend themselves, they had prepared to win. Their strategy was comprehensive, targeting not just the immediate threat, but the Empire's ability to maintain its war machine. What do you want? He asked finally. Complete withdrawal of all Zephyrian forces from Terran space, Elena replied immediately. Recognition of Earth sovereignty, and a formal treaty guaranteeing that the Zephyrian Empire will never again attempt to subjugate humanity. And if we refuse, Elena's green eyes hardened. Then we demonstrate that the Crimson Armada was designed for more than just defense, Admiral. We show you what happens when humans go on the offensive. The threat hung in the space between the two fleets. Fleet Admiral Korax looked around his bridge at officers who had never known defeat, now facing the impossible reality of total strategic failure. The greatest military force in galactic history had been outmaneuvered by a species they had dismissed as primitive. Very well, he said, finally, I accept your terms. How humanity rewrote the rules of the galaxy. The news of the Zephyrian defeat spread across the galaxy faster than lightspeed communications could carry it. In government halls, military academies, and trading posts throughout known space, the same impossible reports were being confirmed. Humanity had not only survived the Empire's full assault, but had achieved total victory. Ambassador Lyra of the Peaceful Mentory Federation sat in her office reviewing the intelligence reports with growing amazement. The Mentory had been victims of Zephyrian aggression for centuries, forced to pay tribute and accept imperial oversight of their space lanes. Now, for the first time in living memory, someone had stood up to the Empire and won. The tactical analysis is extraordinary, her military advisor reported. The humans didn't just win, they revolutionized space warfare. Their stealth technology, their precision weapons, their tactical coordination, it's decades ahead of anything we've seen. Lyra nodded thoughtfully. Have we received any communication from Earth regarding their intentions? Yes, Ambassador. Captain Elena Voss has transmitted a message to all galactic governments. She's proposing something called the Terran Coalition, a defensive alliance of independent worlds committed to mutual protection against imperial aggression. The ambassador's compound eyes widened. Humanity wasn't content to simply defend itself. They were offering to extend that protection to others. After centuries of imperial domination, someone was finally offering an alternative to submission or destruction that on the Zephyrian homeworld, Emperor Valdris faced the greatest crisis of his reign. The defeat of the Imperial fleet had sparked rebellions across the Empire. Subjugated worlds that had lived under Zephyrian rule for generations were suddenly declaring independence, inspired by humanity's example. Your Imperial Majesty, reported his intelligence chief, we have confirmed uprisings in over 300 systems. The rebels are demanding withdrawal of Imperial forces and recognition of their independence. Valdris slammed his fist on the crystal table. How did this happen? How did one primitive world destroy everything we've built? It wasn't just the military defeat, Your Majesty. It was the example. For the first time in galactic history, A species proved that the Empire could be resisted successfully. That knowledge is spreading faster than we can contain it. The Emperor stared out at his capital city, where protests were beginning to form even on the homeworld itself. Citizens who had once taken pride in imperial conquest were now questioning the cost of endless warfare. The defeat at Earth had shattered the myth of Zephyrian invincibility, and myths, once broken, could never be fully repaired. Meanwhile, Captain Elena Voss stood in the newly constructed Terran Coalition headquarters on Luna, Earth's moon. The facility had been built in record time as representatives from dozens of worlds arrived to discuss membership in humanity's proposed alliance. The response had been overwhelming. Captain reported Admiral Hayes, "We now have formal applications from 47 civilizations wanting to join the coalition. The Menthari Federation, the Kalari Confederacy, the Rigel Republic, even some former Zephyrian client states are requesting membership." Elena studied the star map showing the rapid expansion of coalition territory. What had started as Earth's desperate gambit for survival was becoming something much larger, a fundamental shift in galactic politics. "What's our capacity for providing actual protection to all these worlds?" she asked. Commander Zhang, recently promoted to Coalition Fleet Commander, answered from his position at the tactical display. "The Crimson Armada is already being expanded. We're sharing our stealth and precision weapons technology with Coalition members, and they're contributing their own innovations. The Menthari have advanced shield technology, the Kalari have superior faster-than-light drives, and the Rigel Republic has manufacturing capacity that rivals the Empire." The combination was proving powerful, where the Zephyrian Empire had maintained control through fear and overwhelming force. The Terran Coalition was building strength through cooperation and shared technology. Each member world contributed its unique advantages, creating a whole greater than the sum of its parts. Ambassador Lyra arrived at Luna for the formal signing of the Coalition Charter. As she walked through the facility, she marveled at the integration of technologies from different species working in harmony. Human tactical systems interfaced seamlessly with Menthari defensive screens and Kalari navigation computers. "Captain Voss," she said during their private meeting, "I must ask, what are humanity's ultimate intentions? You've demonstrated that you can defeat any force in the galaxy. Will you become the next Empire?" Elena considered the question carefully. "Ambassador, humanity learned long ago that empires inevitably collapse under their own weight. We're not interested in ruling other species. We're interested in making sure no one can rule us or anyone else who prefers freedom. And if the Zephyrians attempt to rebuild their fleet, then they'll discover that the Crimson Armada was just the beginning," Elena replied. "We're already working on next-generation technologies that will make our current capabilities look primitive. But more importantly, we're building something the Empire can never have, willing allies who fight not because they're forced to, but because they choose to." The Coalition's first major test came 6 months later when Emperor Valdris, desperate to reassert imperial authority, launched a new offensive against the rebelling Kalari Confederacy. The attack was met not just by Kalari forces, but by a coordinated coalition response that demonstrated the new alliance's effectiveness. Human ships provided tactical coordination and stealth capabilities. Menthari vessels contributed their advanced defensive systems. Kalari forces used their superior speed to outmaneuver Imperial formations. The battle was over in hours, with the Zephyrian attack fleet in full retreat. Commander Zhang observed the engagement from the Coalition Command ship, watching as different species technologies blended seamlessly under human tactical doctrine. "It's working exactly as we hoped," he reported to Elena. "The Empire's divide-and-conquer strategy is useless against a truly unified alliance." The defeat marked the beginning of the end for Zephyrian imperial expansion. More worlds joined the coalition every month, and each new member made the alliance stronger. The Empire found itself surrounded by a growing network of independent worlds protected by increasingly sophisticated defenses. 1 year after the Battle of Earth, Captain Elena Voss stood before the assembled Coalition Council in what had become the largest diplomatic gathering in galactic history. Representatives from over 200 worlds had come to Luna to participate in the first Galactic Peace Conference. Distinguished representatives, she began, 1 year ago, humanity faced a choice between submission and destruction. We chose a third option, resistance. Today, that choice has become something far greater than we ever imagined. The audience listened in respectful silence as Elena outlined the Coalition's achievements. Piracy had been virtually eliminated in Coalition space. Trade between member worlds had increased by 300%. Scientific cooperation had led to breakthrough technologies that benefited all members. But our greatest achievement, Elena continued, is proving that civilizations don't have to choose between being conquerors or victims. We can choose to be protectors of ourselves, of each other, and of the principles that make civilization worth preserving. Ambassador Lyra rose to address the assembly. The Menthry Federation has lived under imperial threat for over 4 centuries. Today, for the first time in our recorded history, our children can look to the stars without fear. This is humanity's gift to the galaxy, not conquest, but the courage to resist conquest. The conference concluded with the signing of the Galactic Peace Accord, a document that established principles of interstellar law based on voluntary cooperation rather than imposed authority. The Zephyrian Empire, reduced to less than half its former territory and facing continued rebellions, had no choice but to sign as well. Emperor Valdris appeared via hologram to add his signature to the accord, his once proud bearing now showing the weight of defeat. The Zephyrian Empire acknowledges the sovereignty of all Coalition worlds and agrees to peaceful coexistence under the terms of this accord. As the ceremony concluded, Elena found herself thinking about the remarkable journey that had brought them to this point. Humanity had gone from an isolated world facing annihilation to the cornerstone of a galactic alliance that prioritized freedom over force. Commander Zhang joined her as they watched the various alien delegations celebrating the historic agreement. Do you think it will last, Captain? This peace we've built. Elena smiled, remembering her conversation with Emperor Valdris so long ago. Peace isn't something you build once and forget about, Zhang. It's something you choose to maintain every day. And as long as there are species willing to choose cooperation over conquest, yes, I think it will last. The Crimson Armada continued to patrol Coalition space, but its mission had evolved. No longer just defenders of Earth, they had become guardians of a new galactic order based on the simple principle that no species should be forced to kneel before another. The ships that had once hidden among asteroids now moved openly through space, their crimson hulls serving as a reminder that freedom, once earned, would be fiercely protected. In the end, humanity's greatest victory wasn't the defeat of the Zephyrian Empire. It was proving that the galaxy could choose a better way forward. The age of empires was ending, and the age of cooperation had begun. And at its heart stood a species that had refused to surrender, even when surrender seemed like the only rational choice.